Hi folks, this is Hannibal from your medical team. I want to make this video today to show you how to use a triangular bandage, or at least give you some usages for a triangular bandage. They are just literally a triangular shaped piece of cloth, and you can buy them commercially or you can make them out of old bed sheets or that sort of material. They are very effective dressings. They used to be wildly popular back, early, 1900s, during World War One, that phase, and they kind of fell out of popularity. The reason they fell out of popularity is mainly Johnson & Johnson Company, because they had, post-World War II, they had developed a whole lot of commercial bandages, such as, band-aids and then other types of bandages. Prior to that, they had sold a triangular bandage at one time, but once they started coming out with all these commercial bandages and dressings, of course, they went on a big campaign to hospitals and with nurses and stuff, and to use all their bandages, and they came out with first aid books, because first aid had never been that popular really before then. Most civilians didn't have a first aid kit or had never touched a first aid kit. And Johnson & Johnson was the first company to really push that and put out first aid kits. But of course it was with their commercial dressings and band-aids and things in there. So the early books, which Johnson & Johnson did, put out some books showing how to use triangular bandages, and they sold triangular bandages. But then once they started making all the commercial stuff, the triangular stuff went away. They started pushing the commercial stuff, and the rest is history. I've seen kind of happen the same thing nowadays with tourniquets. I'm not that old, and when I was younger, and all my first aid training I had in the military and everything, we didn't have tourniquets. We used bandages, and we were taught how to improvise tourniquets. Nowadays, I've had people tell me, improvised tourniquets don't work and they're not effective, and you have to have this XYZ brand of tourniquet in order for it to work. Well, they've been using improvised tourniquet for thousands of years, and they can certainly be effective if you know what you're doing. But as I said, if you're a company and you make a new handy dandy widget tourniquet, of course you're going to make videos and promotional material, and you're going to go out and give out samples, and you're going to promote this, and God bless you. You make a nice bit of change, and you make a good commercial product, and it saves a lot of lives. But in order to do that, you're kind of downgrading improvised tourniquets, which can be horribly effective. So anyway, that's why triangular bandages fell out of favor. But I think in an SHTF scenario, especially a bandage that you can wash, reuse, you can make from old sheets, it's very, very effective. And if it's applied properly, it's great dressing. So I'm going to make a few. I'm not even sure how many different ways I'm going to show you how to use it. I think 7 or 8 probably, something in that. There's 100 different ways you can use these dressings, but I'm not going to make an hour-long video and show you every one of them. I'm just going to make you aware of a few ways that you can use this. So it's a very good addition to your kit. I'm also going to show you some commercial ones, and for something that you can usually get for $1 or maybe $2 at the most, they're really handy to have in your first aid kit. So stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy. Okay, folks. I want to show you some of the different types of triangular bandages, and some that you might want to get and some that you might want to avoid. So I got 3 different types here, and this first one, these you can find, these are a little more rare. This is actually a U.S. Army issued triangular bandage. It's made out of very heavy muslin, and it includes 2 safety pins in with it. Safety pins are black, and this is a olive drab, heavy muslin. These are really nice. They still make these. This actually has a the number on it. I forget what they call it, but it was like the DOD number or whatever. And I put that in to search and see if they still made these, and they do. They actually come up under North American Rescue, though. So I don't know if they're making them for the military or what, but. This one's made by Elwyn in PA. The date on this is 1997, so you'll get 25 years old, close to it. I found this one at a pawn shop for $5. I really got it just for making the videos and stuff. It's not like these things go bad. You can launder them and reuse them. But this is one type. If you can get these, they're great, but they're a little more expensive, but they're nice. This is what I'm going to be working with today. I don't know who manufactures these. They're made in China. That's what the, get up there and see. Well, I'll show you all of them. This is the military one. I don't know if that light's too bright, if you can read these or not. This is what I'm going to be using today. These are made out of a muslin cloth. Once again, made in China. There's no brand on it, but it's kind of a tan kind of color, and it's got 2 safety pins in it. And then there's these. This one is a very white material. Once again, made in China. And I'm going to talk about these a little bit more. I would avoid these. So this one is the one that I'm going to be using today. I've got a few of these. I bought these, you know, buy them half a dozen, 6, 8 at a time. I have all kinds of these in my pack. These white ones, I bought these. I bought some, if I remember right, they were IFACs, the actual bags, from a vendor on eBay, and you know, he only sells like government surplus stuff, and he doesn't sell stuff made in China. But he had posted up that he had a case of these. He bought like a pallet of stuff, and there was a case of these triangular bandages from China in there, and he was just selling them, and when they were gone, they were gone. He wasn't ever going to get them again, and they were dirt cheap. And I bought a few of these, and they're not good. They do not have safety pins with them, which is, you know, not an absolute deal breaker, but I don't know what the material is. It doesn't say what it is. It's very white, very like kind of bright white material, and it's weird. It has almost like a paper feel to it, and it's not strong. It's not as flimsy as like a paper towel, but this is definitely, I think it's some sort of paper material. You can use these for bandages, but there's a lot of stuff that you couldn't use it for. Like you couldn't use it for a tourniquet. Even like an arm sling, I don't know if it wouldn't tear. Especially I think it would get weak if it got saturated with blood. So I still have a few of these. I do have a couple in my big first aid bag, but I don't really plan on ever using them. They are like a last resort kind of thing. They might make a good bandage as far as a pad, absorbent pad to put on a wound if you were going to do that and then use a triangular bandage over top of it. But it's not very good, so avoid these. If you're going to buy any, you don't buy these things. They're white. There's a green package. It just says bandage triangular. Get these if you're going to get them. They're actually made out of muslin. So let me open this up. And oh, you're kind of wondering, like, why is he wearing a shawl? This is my shemagh, and I use this when I'm out hiking in the woods, and a lot of people have these in their kit. I certainly keep one in mine, but the reason I had it out, I went hiking this morning and I had it out, but I just wanted to show you. This is a big triangular bandage, so if you have one of these, you're kind of like, you know, the Boy Scouts when Lord Baden made the Boy Scouts. He made a neckerchief part of the uniform. So they wear a neckerchief with a slider on it. Every Boy Scout has a first aid kit with them at all times because they teach how to use the first aid using the neckerchief as a triangular bandage. So if you have a shemagh on, you have a very key part to a first aid kit hanging around your neck, which you can use if you need to. So that's why I have that out. So let's get this triangular bandage out and I'll show you what it consists of. So it is a triangular piece of cloth made out of a muslin, and it includes 2 safety clips. They don't all have safety pins. They almost always do. Sometimes they'll only have 1. These always have 2. The military ones always have 2. But now, like I said, these cheapy Chinese ones, they do not. So you don't. It's not an absolute thing, but the safety pins come in handy to have. And when you first open these up, they are what you would call apex folded, and I'm going to show you that. But they just look like this long strip, about 3 to 4 inches wide. There's different ways you can fold these, but obviously there's different ways to apply them, which I'm going to show you. But there's also different ways to fold them, and I do want to show you that because I'm going to refer to those as I'm making the video. I'll say, you know, you base folded or apex folded, but they're apex folded when you get them, and it's going to look like this. So you can pull it right out of the pack and use it this way for a lot of different types of bandages. Some of them you're going to have to unroll it, but I'm going to show you more of that. So stay tuned. Okay, so there's not a standard size for triangular bandages. So there's not a standard size for triangular bandages. You know, if you look at them, they're always a triangle. So you have the base, and then you have the point of the triangle, which is the apex. So this particular bandage, this one is 56 inches across the base, and the sides are 40 inches. Now this military one, the base is instead of 56 inches, this is 52 inches. And instead of 40 inches, the sides are 37. And this horrible paper Chinese one is in centimeters, which I'm not going to take the time to convert. You guys can if you want to. But this one, where it's 40 inches towards the apex, that's 102 centimeters. This one is 96 centimeters, so it's a little bit shorter. And across the base, where it's 56 inches, that's 142 centimeters. This one is 136, so slightly smaller. So they're all close, but they do vary slightly in size. But as I said, there's the base and the apex. So when you're going to use this, I'm going to flip this way because the folds are already kind of laid out this way. If you're going to use it, there's two different basic ways you can fold it. One is the apex fold. And the apex fold, you bring the apex down here like this to the base, and then you do that again. Then you do it one more time. And what you get is a long, straight bandage, 3 to 4 inches wide. This is what it looks like when you first open it out of the pack. That's why I said it's basically apex folded when you first open it. Now if you're going to base fold it, that's different. You can see they have creases in them already where they've been folded. If you're going to base fold it, you usually don't fold it all the way up. You just fold a couple of folds in. But the idea is just fold it over like this. And then you've got the heavier fold at the base and the apex is hanging loose. You do use that for certain bandages. So that's how you fold it. So when I'm dressing, you'll hear me refer to either an apex fold or a base fold. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to dress a laceration of the scalp. You know, scalp wounds can do a lot of bleeding and they can look really bad, although they usually are not that serious, but just the amount of blood that they produce can certainly look very bad. So this is a very common type of wound and kind of hard to dress, because when you put a dressing over somebody's face, they get very uncomfortable. You don't want it over their eyes or mouth. You don't want it interfering with their jawline and chewing or moving their mouth. And generally, if you do that, you try to put a dressing on like that and it interferes with it, they're going to pull at it, tug it, move it loose, and it's going to come undone. So it actually kind of has to be comfortable for them. So if you have a laceration in the scalp, first thing you want to do is put a piece of gauze on there and hold pressure on it, of course. And then, because understand the triangular bandage itself is not a bandage, it's something to hold the bandage in place. So usually you're going to use it in conjunction with gauze or another triangular bandage. This is just a piece of 4x4. I considered just getting that Chinese triangular bandage. It's like made out of paper, and just using that for this, but I just had this 4x4 handy, but that would be a good use for something like that. So you're going to put some sort of gauze or something over there, the dressing. Then you're going to take your triangular bandage, and you want it to be base folded for this. So I've just folded over a few times along the base, and what we're going to do is drape this over the top of their head and bring this down just above their eye line, and then pull these to the back, and we're going to tie them, but we're just going to cross them over one time and pull this snug. Okay, then you can make sure it's not down over their eyes. You can pull it back around to the front, and you can tie it again with a good square knot, and you can take those loose ends and tuck them in so that they're not falling down over their eyes. Okay, that gets the dressing over the top, and it's holding pressure down on this. Now that apex on the back, it hangs down underneath where you tied it, so you can pull that snug, and that will pull pressure down onto that. Let me tuck that in a little bit better so you can see it. And see, there's that gauze held in place. You pull that down, and that snugs it up. And then where it goes underneath this, you can pull it down, roll it up, and you can tuck it in just to get it out of the way. And that actually makes a nice, comfortable dressing. It holds it in place well. It's comfortable for the patient. It's not going to interfere with their eyes or mouth or anything, and it holds it in place good. So that's a very good use for the triangular bandage for scalp lacerations. Okay, so this next bandage, this is going to be a dressing for, let's say, ear injuries or jaw injuries, something to the side of the head. I had a guy come into the emergency room one time when I was doing triage. He had wrecked on an ATV and hit a rock and sheared off his ear. The only thing that had it attached was the earlobe, so the ear was flopped and laying down. They had the awfulest mess of stuff wrapped around his head. He looked like one of these Bedouin tribesmen or something trying to come in. It was covering his eyes, and it was just a mess. Something like this would be ideal for that kind of a wound. So first thing is, let's say it's an ear. You're going to put a gauze on there. Now, with somebody setting up like this, you're going to need some help. So you can usually ask the patient to, hey, you know, this guy only has one arm, but you can say, here, hold that in place. Now, I've done this. Sometimes if you have a bystander, you can get them to help you. I've done demonstrations, and I've had people kind of play devil's advocate and say, well, what if you don't have any help? Or what if they won't help you? This guy's going to be in two different conditions. He's either going to be alert enough that he's setting up, in which case he should be able to help me to hold his hand in there, or he's going to be unconscious. If he's unconscious, I can put him on his side and roll him on his side, and I don't need help holding this because gravity will hold it in place when I lay it there, because it's just like now on the top of the head. So you get somebody to help you with that. I'm not going to put the gauze on because I don't have anyone to help me, and I'm just showing you how to do the bandage. So you want this to be apex rolled so that you have it as a long strip. Right? And what you do is you're going to bring this around the head and tie it like you would a bandana, but you want to bring the knot over to the side, okay? And you're going to start to tie the knot. Just fold it like this. Then you pull this underneath the jaw, and you can pull it over here to the opposite side, and you can tie it on this side. Now, of course, when you tie it, you're going to have your gauze underneath there over the ear, and you can tie it down there tight, or you can have the gauze on this side, and it's going to hold it tight. Tie it on and secure it with a simple square knot, and you can tuck the excess underneath out of the way. And that makes for a very effective dressing of the head. It doesn't block the eyes or block the jaw, and very effectively will hold the dressing up against the ear. And as I said, I tied the knot over it, so you pull the knot tight in that one area, it'll push pressure right against that wound. And this is a very effective use of a triangular bandage for a head wound or a jaw or ear wound. So another way you can apply triangular bandage is if you have a armpit wound. So if you have a wound that's in the armpit, of course you're going to put a dressing in place, and then you're going to have your apex rolled gauze, or bandage, I'm sorry, and you're going to put it over top of the shoulder like this, and just tie a simple overhand knot. Then you can pull it across the body and underneath the other arm, which in this case is missing, and you can tie it on this side with a square knot. And that makes for a very good secure dressing that will stay in place through movement and stuff. It will hold pressure up on that, and you still have free range movement of both arms. So if you have some sort of a chest wound, there's a good chance you're going to put a seal, a chest seal on there if you have one. If you have one of my IFAT kits, you'll have one. You can put a dressing. If it's a sucking chest wound, you can put a piece of plastic over it. You can use the package that your triangular bandage came in. You could put the plastic against the skin, put a piece of gauze over top of it, and then you're going to put your triangular bandage. And this is the way that you would do it. First off, you don't fold it. You actually leave it all undone this time. And you take the base and drape it across the chest and pull it behind the back. And actually you would do this low, like down around the abdomen. And whichever side the wound is on, which in this case we'll say it's on this side, that's where you want your knot. So you want to kind of pull it over to that side a little bit to tie it. And you just tie a simple square knot at the back. And where you've pulled it to the one side, these two tails, one's going to be longer than the other one. Take the longer one. Now it's tied in a square knot, so it's not going to come loose. Then you take the apex and you pull it up and drape it across this shoulder, and you tie it to that long tail. And of course your dressing, which I didn't put in there, your dressing is going to be in place underneath this, held in place by the triangular bandage. And you can snug it up, pull it up as necessary. So that's how you would put a dressing on for a chest wound. Okay, so one of the very common usages of a triangular bandage or cravat is an arm sling for a fractured arm. And this is how you construct one of those. So you're going to take the bandage by the one corner of the base and hold it up, and the apex is out to this side. And you're going to lay it over the patient's chest. Now, this is where you are going to have to get some help from them, hopefully, or if they're unconscious laying on the back, you won't need it. But you want to place the arm across the chest. Sorry, I had to reposition my camera. So we pull the corner of the base up over the shoulder with the apex pointing towards the elbow. We've got the arm pulled across the chest. And now we take the other corner of the base and we pull it over the opposite shoulder. Pull the arm up into a sling, and then you just tie a simple square knot around the back of the neck. Now, to complete this sling, you can see his elbow's already coming out. So that is a problem. So you're going to need to anchor this somehow. There's two ways of seeing this done. One, you can pull up this excess and tie it in a knot. But the most common, I think, effective way, you can take that excess and pull it over here to the front like this, And this is where you get to use your safety pin that comes included with the dressing. You can fasten that cloth with the safety pin. And that creates a little pocket here that will keep the elbow from sliding out and will keep it secure in the sling. Okay, now I'm going to show you a slightly different variation of the arm sling. So this is the way I put the arm sling on if you have, a fractured wrist or something, fractured forearm, you want to just get it up there and support it. But if you have a fractured collarbone or clavula, so this is a slight variation on what I showed you with the Now this is going to be a slight variation on what I showed you for the arm sling. So this is how you would make a sling for a fractured arm. If you have a broken collarbone, you don't want to do this because this will put a lot of pressure on that collarbone as that weight is down. You want to pull it up tighter and get that pressure off of there. So this is the way you would do that. So instead of bringing this underneath, let's say this is the collarbone or the arm that's broken, you don't bring it over this shoulder, you bring it over the opposite shoulder. Okay, then when you pull this up, this is hard on a mannequin without help, so bear with me. So you run it over the opposite shoulder. Then when you pull the arm up, instead of bringing this base end over this shoulder like so, you tuck it under the arm and you bring it up beneath it like this, and then you tie it across the back with a square knot. He's trying to escape. Then you can take your safety pin and secure this loose cloth up. That will hold the arm up, but it does it in such a way it's not putting any pressure on the collarbone. It's being supported by this opposite shoulder. Okay, now I'm going to show you some dressings that have more to do with the extremities. I'm going to work on the arm, but these would work equally well on a leg wound. So if you have a laceration, let's say on the forearm, especially lengthwise, of course you're going to put a piece of gauze over it. Now, if you have your bandage apex rolled, like when you first open it, the temptation is just to kind of wrap it like this and tie it around, and it's really not a good way to go. I've seen people try that, and it loosens up and it'll just slide down and be falling off, and it's just going to be a big old mess before it's over with. A superior way to do it is like this. So you put your gauze, your dressing on, then you take your bandage and you lay it lengthwise along the arm like this. And then down at the distal end, which will be the end down towards the hand or the foot, you're going to fold it like this, and then you're going to wrap it. And this is going to be kind of weird with the mannequin, but just bear with me. And you just wrap this around the arm, working your way up the arm. You can keep it nice and snug and keep plenty of pressure on that dressing. Then when you get up to the end, you can take this end, wrap it around, bring it back over and tie a square knot. And that will give you a nice tight dressing that's not going to move, and it's not going to work its way loose, and it'll stay in place. Now if you have a wound of the hand, like a laceration on the palm, or burn, that's another common thing, is have burns in the hand. The way to apply a dressing like this is you take your triangular bandage and you're going to base fold it just up a few turns. It doesn't have to be perfect. And you're going to lay the hand on it like this. And then what you're going to do is take the apex and fold it back over the hand. Then you can simply take the base, wrap it across it, crossing it a couple of times around the wrist, and then tie it with a square knot. And you can tuck those ends away, and that'll put a nice gauze pad. And of course you can, I didn't say you could put a pad like in the palm. You can pack some gauze in there before you put the dressing on. The dressing will hold it in place, and you can pull up the excess if you need to pull it up a little tighter. So it's a way to wrap a hand. Okay, now I'm going to show you how you can use a triangular bandage to support a sprained ankle. And you can do this with or without a shoe on. Now I know this is kind of a weird angle the way I've got the mannequin's leg thrown up here, but I didn't want to have to get down on the floor and do this. I was afraid I wouldn't be able to demonstrate it very well. So you take the triangular bandage and you apex fold it, or the way it comes out of the package when you open it. And you just kind of drape it over your hand and find the center of it. And you lay that directly over the top of the foot. Okay? Then you just cross it underneath. You don't tie it. You just cross it like this. Now, you take those sides and you bring them behind the ankle like this. And you cross them again. Then you bring them in front of the ankle and you cross them again. Now, you're going to take these loose ends and tuck them under the sides like this. Now you can bring them up to the top, and this is where you tie your square knot. And that will pull and give some support to that ankle. You can do this with a shoe on. You're going to have to, tie this kind of snug in order to get some good tight support on that sprained ankle. So you want to make sure you still have blood flow. And the way to do that is a check for the capillary refill on the toes. And what capillary refill is if you take your fingernail, like right now, mine is nice and pink. If I press on it and hold it for a few seconds, when I let go of it, it'll be white, but it'll immediately turn pink again. And that should turn pink fairly quickly, within a second or two. That's called blanching. So if you push on that nail and it blanches and turns white, and then when you let go of it, it stays white and doesn't return back pink, that means you've got poor blood flow. So, check the toes, make sure they feel warm. Check the capillary refill on the toes. Make sure you got good blood flow and you haven't tied this so tight as to make it a tourniquet. Okay, the last thing I'm going to show you today is how you can use a triangular bandage as a tourniquet. So you take it out of the pack as the apex folded, and you place it around the limb, and you wrap it around a couple of times, and you just tie a simple overhand knot. Then you place something in it. I'm close to my kitchen. I just grabbed a wooden spoon. And you lay that over the knot. And now you're going to tie a square knot over top of that. Now you simply turn it. This mannequin is not real good for doing tourniquets on because it's such hard, rigid plastic that usually if I just try to crank on something, I just break it. But this will give you an idea. So you crank on it. Now you've got it, in place. You've got a tourniquet. Now, if I let go of this spoon, it's just gonna flip around and loosen up, and so we can't have that. You gotta secure this down. That's what these nice long ends are for. And so the way I would suggest is, it's wanting to go in that direction. So I'm gonna take this part, I'm gonna bring it under, and I'm going to bring it under that and pull it back in the opposite direction. See what I did there? So that'll keep it tight. So bring it under, wrap it around that, and then you can pull it back in the opposite direction, wrap it, and tie it with the other tail. And that'll keep this nice and secured. And this makes for a very effective tourniquet. I know that there is a company out there that makes commercial tourniquets, and they have long thrown this stuff out there that improvised tourniquets are no good, and if you don't have a commercial tourniquet, that it's not going to work. I assure you, improvised tourniquets can be very, very effective. One other thing I wanted to show you, when I talk about tying these, I keep saying tie a square knot, tie a square knot. And I want to show you what actually a square knot is, and what it looks like. A square knot is simply, I think they say like right over left and left over right. That never made a lot of sense to me. Here's what a square knot looks like. So you tie what you would call just a simple, overhand knot, like you were starting to tie your shoes. Now, you take these two ends and you loop them over, and it should look like this. These two pieces should go completely over like this. If you do it the wrong way, you make what, when I was in Boy Scouts, they called it a granny knot, which looks like that. See that loop? It only goes over one side and then it snakes under the other one. Same way on this side. And that's a ineffective knot. It doesn't hold well and it's hard to undo. But an actual square knot should look almost like the number 8, where you've got this over this portion here, covers both, and you flip it over, it looks the exact same way. Now, this is an effective knot. It works good, and where my Boy Scout knot tying comes in, this is a very effective knot for tying 2 different size pieces of rope or 2 different size pieces of materials together. So you can have a rather large rope and a rather small one and tie them together using a square knot, and they will hold. The other nice thing about the square knot, if you kind of look at what I'm talking about here, it's like 2 interlocking pieces that just slide together. There's this loop and then another loop, and it's like a loop within a loop, if that makes sense. And they just slide and lock right together like that, and they're very strong. Even if the knot is very tight, it's pretty easy to undo. If you just take either one side or the other and you pull them apart like this to loosen it, then I can grab the knot and pull this and slide it right out. So it's a very easy knot to tie. It's a very effective knot and a very easy knot to untie. Just grab one end, pull it like that, grab the knot, pull it right out. Thank you all for joining me today. I really appreciate you all. I'm enjoying making these videos. I hope you guys are enjoying watching them. There is literally 100 ways that you can use a triangular bandage. I've just shown you a few here today. There's a book that's in my library. So of my close associates that I know there's some on here, if you have access to my library, you can get that book. It's Army Field Manual FM 8-50, and I think under my library you can search electronically. I think it's just called a bandage PDF, something like that, but it's fairly recent upload. You'll see it in there if you access it, but you can go online and search for it also. It's available. It's a very good manual. It's an Army manual, and it shows how to apply different dressings and stuff. And there's a whole section in there on triangular bandage, and also another one on gauze wrappings. If you are not getting it from my library, and if you're just downloading it, check the year, because the Army is notorious for using the same number for different books. So when I was looking for it, I had it in my library, but I was also looking for actually a newer edition. The one that I have in my library is from 1957. I searched online and I found a few other editions. I found a couple from the 40s, and didn't find it to be as good of a book. There was had different information, and it was kind of weird. There was stuff about using like horse bridles and things like that. It was very dated info, and it didn't have as much information about triangular bandages in there. I also found another version of it from 1990, and it's the same number, FM 8-50. However, it's about laser injuries to eyes. So completely different subject, but they use the same number for it. So if you do get it, try to get the edition from the 50s. Like I said, I think it was 57. That has some really good information about triangular bandages and also rolled gauze bandages and how to apply them. Thank you very much for watching. Like I said, I really enjoy making these, and I'm trying to give you some more good SHTF medical knowledge. I've got some ideas for some other videos I'm going to be putting out in the near future. So stay tuned, and this has been Hannibal from your medical team. God bless. Stay safe.